Greetings from Somerville. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on SBTV. An exciting night with my guest, Joe Colangelo.
Oh, so great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh my goodness, you're so formal. That almost sounds like one of those, like I said, like Michelangelo, Joe Colangelo. It almost sounds like a...
Yeah. This is like when I was a little kid, everybody always they were like, hey, it's time to play Ninja Turtles. You'll be Michelangelo because you love that. I'm like, I don't love that. I want to be Leonardo. They're like, well, your name's Colangelo, so you're Michelangelo.
Close enough.
You like pizza. I was like, this is ridiculous.
So the name is, did you have a nickname growing up, or has anyone ever teased you about the name?
No, it's Colangelo. I mean, it just rolls right off the tongue, obviously.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you're a Renaissance man.
You grew up in New Jersey. I thought I was like, there's all Christians are Catholics, and all white people are Italians and Irish. That's it. That's all
true.
of the whole world.
Yeah.
So nobody ever had a problem saying my name growing up. It was Colangelo.
Right.
I figured we were all
and then you get out in the world and you realize that's not the makeup of everyone.
I was like, you were here before there were like potato famines and stuff? Like, you came to America before that? That's insane.
Never even knew that was possible. Joe is my guest tonight. Exciting individual. We both grew up in New Jersey. We both went to the same high school at different times. And then you went on to be, I've listed you as an entrepreneur, a new dad again for the 5th time.
That's right.
Just had your 5th child.
That's true.
Congratulations in the studio audience, everybody. That is prolific.
Yeah, my wife did all the work. It's like Chicago voting. You got to do it early and often.
I tell you what, I was going to say, so just before we even get any further, how is that? I mean, I've never had a child. I know you have the one, and then they say the one takes all your time, so 2 can't take any more than your time because you already took. Is 5 just chaos? You only have 2 more?
No, it's very well said. Like, the first kid eats dirt, and you take him to the doctor. The second kid eats dirt. You frantically clean out their mouth. The third kid eats dirt. You wonder if you have to feed them lunch, right? So by the time you get to 5, you're like, the 4th was made of dirt. I don't even know. So it's easy because you lower your standards.
Exactly.
And so that is the thing, is that time fills a vacuum. It's like a woman's purse will always fill. Air will always fill to expand a vacuum.
Right.
You only have so much of yourself to give.
That was pretty darn deep.
Thanks.
Are you just a bad dad? Is that what I'm sensing?
Right. People will be like, you shouldn't do this with kids. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. We've decided to raise them poorly.
We're just not going to do a good job.
Yeah, thank you very much. You shouldn't drink coffee while you're pregnant. Oh, we've made a conscious decision to raise them poorly.
We're just going to do, yes. So born and raised in New Jersey. Take us to the journey, because you are here, you're an entrepreneur, you've been part of more than one company, which I find just fascinating, and I want to talk about. But take us to the beginning.
So I'll give you the 90-second overview. I was born and raised in Cranford, New Jersey. Love that town. I went to Delbarton, which was an amazing experience. It taught me that it taught me that money existed. It taught me that there were jobs other than teachers and police officers and things like that in the world. Gave me a great experience. I went to UC Berkeley on a Naval ROTC scholarship right when the Iraq War was kicking off. So I was this minority person that had to walk around campus getting yelled at all the time.
Is that right?
And just a totally different atmosphere than obviously Delbarton or Cranford or anything. And then,
so you're Navy ROTC
at Berkeley,
getting yelled at.
Exactly. I went to. I really wanted to be a SEAL, so I went to basic underwater demolition school.
Okay.
Started with a class of 250.
Okay.
28 of us made it through Hell Week. I was one of them. And then 27 became SEALs. I was the only one who didn't.
Really?
That's correct.
Is that by choice, or you don't make it?
No, I got thrown out after getting in a fight with an instructor.
Is that right? So that is pretty big. I mean, that is serious stuff. I mean, that training.
Yeah, it was really disappointing.
Underwater and all that crazy stuff, holding your breath. I mean, that's the real deal.
It was.
No wonder your kids are eating dirt, huh? They should be lucky they had dirt.
It's got high iron content.
So from there.
So I went to just regular Navy. I was on ships, very instructive.
Gotcha.
Went to Afghanistan, came back to a 3-month-old, and my wife and I both got out of the Navy. She went to law school.
She was in the Navy as well.
She was Navy as well. I met her in Korea.
Wow. Oh my! You met in Korea.
I always tell people I met my wife in Korea. and then they meet like a blonde hair girl from South Carolina, and they're
Right.
like, oh, well, she was deployed with me at the same time. Like,
Exactly.
but yeah, I met my wife in Korea in the Navy. So that was it. So I did consulting at Booz Allen, commercial consulting for a little while.
Okay.
I did a startup down in DC. By this point, I'd also launched my brewery out in San Diego.
Okay, well, let's slow down now. Okay, so do you know what you want to do growing up? Because you are an entrepreneur. Okay,
no.
So you're interested.
I want to run a railroad one day.
You want to run
if you're asking me now what I want to do when I grew up,
Yeah.
I want to build a railroad.
You want to build a railroad?
Yeah.
Anywhere in particular?
Anywhere's fine.
Okay, but
Jersey
at this
would be
point in
good.
your life, you go to the SEALs, you don't make it, you come out, you go, okay, what now? What am I doing with my life? And you get a real job?
I got a real job, yeah. So I was running national sales for basically a Groupon for the military and veterans.
Okay.
So I was running
Groupon?
national sales. Yeah, so like Groupon, Daily Deals website, right?
Gotcha.
This was like a startup that was like, we're Groupon, but only for people in the military and veterans.
Oh,
and so the idea was like, we can not devalue the experience because like who doesn't want to give a veteran discount or one-off, right?
Gotcha, okay.
It didn't work out.
Okay.
But I learned a lot about sales. And I
Okay.
learned a lot about like figuring out how to get like national brands to sign on to small companies. So that I think everybody should learn sales. I always say every
Really?
job is a sales job. The higher you go, the more sales it is.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't work out, and yet you were part of starting that, or you were just
No, I just joined.
you just
They paid a
Okay.
salary.
Okay.
Um,
Got some sales experience.
Exactly.
Okay. Then
Went to
what?
Booz Allen. I did
Booz Allen is a
consulting firm.
Gotcha.
So
And what are you
consulted
doing
for a
there?
little while. Flew up to Boston every week, Monday through
consulting
Thursday.
With whom about what?
A medical device company bought another medical device company, and I'm helping make sure that their sales teams integrate effectively.
Okay.
Just like the most exciting stuff. You
I was
know?
gonna say, what were you qualified for that? Why were you?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of these things. I have always applied for jobs when I didn't have them that I was never qualified for. I always say like, my brother, he worked for a hedge fund at one summer, and the guy who ran it had a lot of cash. This was the summer of 2008, and he had a standing offer for all Miami condos listed above $5 million to buy them at 50% of asking. So every week his realtor would put in like 10 offers. You're selling your condo for $7 million, made a $3.5 million offer cash. This was like during the crisis. People needed cash. And he had cash. I would say, so that was my, and he made a couple buys every month, and he would list them at full price. And eventually, over the next 3 months, he would sell them at near full price.
Wow.
Wow. So I've never had a lot of cash, but I've got this time. So like whenever I'm watching Netflix or a movie or something, I was applying to jobs that were like 8 times above my pay grade. I remember getting a second interview as like head of menswear at Macy's at 25 years old, and they were like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Fair enough." But like, I got the second interview, so like, I don't know.
Doing that just to see if you could.
It costs nothing, right? Like if you're already watching the tube, and you can like fill out a resume for a job that pays 5 times what you're making, it costs nothing. And yes, it's a 1 in 100 chance you're gonna like move forward with it, or 1,000 chance.
And is that how you got the Booz Allen job?
Kind of, yeah.
All of a sudden you're consulting.
Because it's not just I applied to Booz Allen. I applied to 20 places, and I was like, all right, I need to do this. It wasn't like I had a garbage resume. I was in the Navy, and I was a pretty well put together person. But like even then, I had to convince them. I was like, listen, like I don't know how to do any of this, but like I'm a fast learner.
I can learn your business that you've been 25 years building.
Yeah.
And so how did that work out? How far did you ever get with applying to one of these jobs?
It was good. They, like Booz Allen was a great experience. I got to restart their commercial consulting firm, but like more importantly, it taught me like another thing of like what I didn't want to do. So at the time, I was 4 years into. I had launched a meadery, which is like a wine or beer, but like made of honey, right? So it's like what Chaucer drank, what Shakespeare, the Vikings drank. It's what Gandalf drank. Yes. And Tyrion Lannister drank mead at the wall.
And you started a company making mead out of honey.
Exactly.
Where did that come from? How did that?
It was something we made in college, and
You made mead in college.
Yeah, before we could buy booze, we would just take honey, mix it with water and ferment it with yeast.
So you were making mead so you could drink underage drinking in college.
Right.
And then you turned it into a company.
Yeah.
And how would you even begin to? I can't fathom. My buddy makes beer in his tub in New Jersey, and then bottles it for us once in a while in a 6-pack. But how do you go from that to saying I'm a company that sells to the public?
I mean, the route that we chose was we partnered with a winery to use their bond and their equipment and everything.
Okay.
We jump started it that way, and then we launched the entire company from that winery.
Okay.
So once we had enough sales, we could go buy our own equipment and rent our own place and launch our own tasting room. Once we had figured out how to do it at scale.
Research though on mead in general, because I don't know. Do they sell mead anywhere still?
Yeah, so it's actually one of these like cider. You didn't hear about it before 2000, and now it's kind of like a semi-popular drink. Mead has gone through a similar experience where it's more out in Williamsburg and in Brooklyn and everything.
Okay, a little more. Okay, the trendy areas. Okay.
Give it a few years.
All right. So mead, you're running the mead company, and what does that involve? Does that involve traveling around trying to get into distributors?
Yeah. So I was opening up distribution. So I was flying out to San Diego once a month to go do my Naval Reserve duty at SEAL Team 17.
Okay.
And then I was opening up distribution relationships from New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and DC. So I opened up those, and then I would do tastings. And this is all while I had a family and a job.
And how many kids at that point?
I don't know. Between
I don't know. You don't really keep track of the kids. Right? I forgot you're a bad dad.
It was between one and 4 kids.
Okay.
While I was still active.
And is this the startup in DC that you referenced, or?
Yeah, this was out in San Diego.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there's a different one in DC. I'm here with Joe Colangelo. Interesting entrepreneur, bad dad. So you're doing mead, you're selling mead, you've moved on from Booze Allen. What's next?
USA Today once called me the world's greatest dad.
USA Today called you the world's greatest dad. Is this
true? It's true.
How did that?
I built an ice luge, and
for your kids,
and it went viral on YouTube. And that's the article they published.
Is that true?
The world's greatest dad builds amazing ice luge for their kids.
Where'd you do this? In your backyard?
I did do it in my backyard.
Is this Navy training stuff that enabled you to?
If you Google ice luge dad,
you come up?
I'll be it.
Is that
exactly?
I didn't even see that in the credits. So,
every day is a school day.
Best dad in the world.
Luge dad.
Luge dad. That is, you have lived for a young man. I tell you, I'm impressed.
I'm a bad dad, but I tricked the fake news media.
Well, that's even.
It's not hard, right?
So bring us up to speed then. Now, where are we? You're a good dad. You're building luges. You're selling mead. What's the next step in your life?
Yeah, so I've always been really interested in Paul Graham talks about building a startup is do things that don't scale. So if you can
scale?
That don't scale.
Okay.
So everybody always wants to build a company that's you build this amazing technology and a ton of people use it, and then all of a sudden you're Mark Zuckerberg, right? If you ever watch The Social Network.
Right.
So we'll get to Boxcar, right? Boxcar is 3 years out, but
right.
I think what's important for other entrepreneurs who might be watching to understand, or other people who want to start a business to understand, is that I tried probably 7 different things in 3 years.
Really?
And I tried them all with here's my thesis, is that people will want champagne delivered to them on the weekend. And enough, follow that enough to build a website, build a Facebook page, build a Twitter, acquire a couple of customers via Facebook ads or other means, handing out flyers, partnering with a brunch place, and then see what people are willing to pay to have champagne delivered to them on the weekends. It was a pretty dumb idea in retrospect, but
was that literally one of your ideas?
It was literally one of my ideas.
Champagne delivered on the weekends.
Weekendchamp.com.
Is that
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly. I've never told anybody that, but this was one of these things where I was okay, people are not loving this, they're not craving this, cut it. Right, go to the next one.
But you started small. To your point, you started small. You just kind of put some feelers out to
exactly.
see how it went. Yeah.
Paul Graham's idea is build things that don't scale. Is it you're going to learn more from your first customer than you will from any like you and your friends bouncing ideas off of each other.
Okay.
Once you get an actual person who's not like your friend to pay for your product, they're going to have to be like, they're going to be your harshest critic. They're like, I don't need this. I have another way to do this. And so I think like one mistake a lot of people make is they're like, everybody who's gotten successful just like stumbled upon that successful idea, when in reality, they've probably tried 20 ideas. Like Mark Zuckerberg made 20 apps before he made Facebook.
Is that right?
Yeah, he made an app for his father, who is a dentist, to connect with his patients. And like, it was neat, but like, it wasn't monetizable. It didn't spread like wildfire like Facebook did. So, you know, just one thing, like, so eventually my wife and I, we moved to Cranford, New Jersey.
Your
back,
hometown.
my hometown. You know, I'm 2 blocks from where I grew up after 8 years in California and 3 in DC.
Right? 2 blocks away. My goodness. Did she find that a little creepy? Like there's like one of those weird guys who won't leave home.
Exactly. It was what, you know, I grew up in Cranford. I saw that like everybody in town kind of knew each other. We had this like wonderful central business district, and the rest of it was peripheral. And I saw the same exact thing on like sitcoms and on television and like, you know, historical Norman Rockwell paintings. And I was like, this is what it's like all across America. And then I got to like go live across America, and I was like, no, this is actually very special. It's a very special town. And so I was, you know, by the time we had kids and they were getting to education age, it was really important to go to a town like that for me.
Absolutely. No, great place. It's not far from where I grew up, in an absolutely beautiful town. And you're right, people, you know, Jersey gets joked on a lot as for people who don't know New Jersey, and it's a stunning state. I mean, it's a beautiful place and a wonderful place to grow up. Call it the Garden State, but everyone only sees the turnpike and the Newark airport. So
exactly.
I say fine. Stay
it's like
away.
Brigadoon. It's the mist. It keeps people, they don't know what's behind, you know?
Exactly. And I say good, stay away, because the taxes are high enough. So keep going.
So I moved back to Cranford, and I'm like, you know what? Like, here's this problem, is that when you move to Cranford, you know, you spend $500,000 on a house, and they tell you it's a great commuter town. And then after you buy the house, you say, how do I park near the train station? And they say, oh, by the way, it's a 3-year wait list for a parking permit. To get a spot.
For anyone from other parts of the country, we're in New Jersey, suburb of New York City, really, and a very, very popular thing to do is to live in New Jersey or surrounding, and then take a train in or a bus in from the outer parts. But it's difficult to do sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So go ahead.
And so there are 60 towns like that in New Jersey, where 60. Where like if you don't live in the town or you haven't lived there long enough, like you can't park near the train station. And there's another 50 out in Long Island, 50 train stations where it's, you can't have a guaranteed parking spot. 50 in Westchester and Fairfield. And so then you look at those same numbers.
But you can't drive to the station.
So it seemed like a really simple problem to fix, because I'm like, you know what? As I drive around downtown, I see all these empty parking lots. And yes, they may not be owned by the municipality, but like they're not full Monday through Friday. So I started working. You know, I started working again, doing things that don't scale. I rented out my own driveway first for $1 a day. I handed out flyers at the train station until somebody rented my driveway.
And for $1 a day, you can park in your driveway and leave the car as they train into New York.
Exactly. Walk right into, you know, I was about 0.2 miles away, a 6-minute walk.
I love this.
And
so
then,
the name of it, just so we don't lose people, Boxcar is the name of the company, and I described it as Airbnb for parking places.
Exactly.
And so, again, just to summarize for those not from this area, you can literally, if there's a parking place that you own or have the rights to rent out, you can go on your app and rent that spot, and you're guaranteed a parking place for the day or however long you want.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can visit boxcarapp.com. You can download Boxcar in the Android and Apple app stores. And then again, if you have a parking spot near the train station, you can rent that out and make money from that at the same time.
That's fabulous. So take us from that first spot in your driveway. How far a walk is it from your driveway to the airport?
About 6 minute walk.
So, 6 minutes. So that's a desirable spot.
Maybe like a 68-minute walk to the airport, though.
Okay, 6 minute
walk to the train station.
You can see where my head is. I'm always getting to the airport.
Like, am I out of here yet? This is like... I've got my G5 waiting on the tarmac. Somerville Express.
Yeah, is there a Boxcar spot for my private jet? So take us then from your first spot to what? It's just you at this point?
So I'm working with somebody, another Del Barton grad, class of 14, much younger than I, who is helping me source parking spots.
Okay. And so, how do you do that? You're just driving around?
Yeah, it's knocking on doors at first.
And what is the legality of that? Is someone allowed?
It was under the radar to begin. We're not going to tell anybody about this. And so we end up getting like 40 spots. And we hand out train stations, businesses, churches and funeral homes.
Well, that's brilliant. Churches and funeral homes.
Exactly.
Because they're not full.
Hopefully. They don't need them Monday through Friday.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's brilliant. So churches have this huge parking lots with nobody in them.
And they need the money.
And they want money.
Right. And so from their perspective, they're saying, okay, I've got 50 parking spots right near the train station, and I really need them on Sunday, but Monday through Friday, they're completely empty. And so what do? We come in and we say, all right, we're going to rent them out. We're going to rent them out for $6 a day, not a ton, but the people who reserve them, they're going to have a guaranteed spot. The parking lot, municipal parking lot fills up at 6:15 a.m.
in the morning,
in a town like Madison, New Jersey, or Chatham, or Westfield, or Cranford, and if you don't have to be into work until 9, 10 a.m., all of a sudden you're like, all right, what do I have my choice? My choices are to drive to the train station at 5:45 or 6 a.m. every morning, drive to Secaucus, pay $30 a day to take it into New York, drive all the way into New York, get my significant other to drive me to the train station. And so now we're saying instead of paying $5 a day in the municipal lot, you're going to pay $6 a day, but you can show up at 11 o'clock and you have a guaranteed spot.
That's
exactly.
Fabulous. That's fabulous.
And we give 75% of the revenue to the owners. From a church perspective, American Legion, VFW, whoever it is, they're able to create this predictable revenue stream. Absolutely. And we always say they're your spots. So you got a funeral, a big graduation, big event for the American Legion, you just turn them off. Sure. We handle the customer service, the payment, the insurance, everything like that.
There's nothing to lose for them then. And they could say, no, that's not available that day, and boom, they're all good.
Or this isn't working well. This isn't working out, we're going to turn it off.
We're not going to do it.
They're your spots. You tell us what to do.
So how many spots do you have now in Boxcar?
So we just hit our 1,000th spot.
1,000
spots? 1,000 spots,
hey, more studio for us. I love it. Congratulations.
You guys are too kind,
And you are in New Jersey, Long Island.
Yep, New Jersey, Long Island, Connecticut. Connecticut was a big, so we're also Massachusetts and California recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're really just starting to expand then?
We're starting to expand.
Wow.
We hired 2 salespeople in November, and they've really just gone off to the races. So our sales process is acquiring parking.
Okay.
That's it. We want to acquire the inventory.
Gotcha.
And then it's marketing to fill it up, which is handing out flyers, which is talking to the town to get the word out with them.
You have to say, what is advertising? Is it real grassroots, pound the pavement with
flyers?
Yeah. And
we always talk to a town before we go in because we say, listen, there's a zoning question here. If this doesn't work with zoning, if it doesn't work with culture or whatever, you don't like the name Boxcar. Just tell us not to do this, and we'll go get lost.
Okay.
If you do want us to do this, if you think this software, and our whole approach and customer service angle solves your problems, then we'd like you to help us with introductions to owners and maybe also helping to get the word out, once we get these spots. And they're usually very more than willing because they're solving their municipal problems at zero cost.
I would think you'd be really open arms to that. Yeah, you're really solving a serious problem, and I imagine people love it. What are the problems that you've come up against from the beginning?
So early on, it was zoning, right? When we didn't really have our pitch settled, and we did start off with going and getting the properties and renting them out, and then begging forgiveness.
Right.
We figured that was not the best way to go about it.
Right.
We can't get parking spots fast enough.
Okay.
And so even though we'll call a church and we'll say, hey, here's a no-brainer idea, here's a check, you can make money, they'll still be very, we got to go through their board, we got to talk to the archdiocese, we got to talk to the bishop, archbishop at some point for a lot of these.
A Catholic high school, has that served you?
It has certainly served me,
helped you out?
I'm glad I take my kids to Mass every week. They're probably everybody in St. Helens
know. The town that you're trying to get into? Is that you change churches based on where you're going?
The problem has been also just the dollar amounts aren't huge,
Right.
and so like we're really focused on like being a profitable, sustainable company. I want to do this for the rest of my life,
Right.
and so at $7 a day, us making $1.75, like it takes a while to add up.
Absolutely. But if you start, that 1,000 becomes 1,000,000 spots. That's not a bad number.
We're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. It sounds like it is. What about if someone gets to work and there's someone in the spot?
So if there's like 10 spots available, we'll usually only list 9 in the event that like something like that happens.
Okay, so there's an extra. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I also noticed that you do buses.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is very interesting to me because when I saw, I love the entrepreneur thing. I love what you're doing, and my dad and I both have had a great time watching your company, watch the social media updates. And when I saw buses, he'll have a question, I'm sure. When I saw buses, that to me, I said, wow, this guy is serious. Because spots, it was a great idea, but like you said, it's someone else's spot, it's an app, all of a sudden, you're running buses into New York City, which is competing with, and we're talking New Jersey Transit, we're talking the bus lines that come into the city. Take me from a spot to that. How do you start that?
So I just left my job.
Okay.
Which paid great.
Yeah.
And the goal was I'm going to run Boxcar for a little while. We're going to continue growing revenue, and then I'm going to go raise money.
Okay.
And then the summer of hell came along, which is where New Jersey Transit said, we're no longer going to run Morris Essex trains into Manhattan for the summer. Okay. And this was like really when we needed to show that we were growing.
Right.
And so we lost a lot of parking. Parking was going to drop by 90% over the summer.
Wow.
Essentially,
Just temporarily.
Just temporarily.
Okay.
So we thought, we want to get into these towns from a perspective of, like helping them out. We want to show them that we're trying to help, not just circumvent their zoning.
Right.
We want to like acquire a lot of customers very quickly. And we want to prove to parking owners that we are established people who can be trusted by not only them, but like their entire municipality.
Absolutely.
So we said, we're going to run buses. And these towns were desperate for buses at that time. Wow. And so what we did was we partnered with charter bus companies that very rarely use their buses in the early morning hours. And so we used them as a sort of marketplace demand or supply. And we were leaving Chatham train station at 6:30 a.m. every day. And you can reserve exactly Wi-Fi, power outlets, bathroom on board. And what we learned was that not after that summer ended, what started off maybe as a bit of a marketing stunt turned into this really amazing way to help people start their day off right.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is, as someone who, when I first got out of school, I got a job in New York City. I was making 19 G's a year before taxes, and at an ad agency, and I was living at home in Berkeley Heights with my parents, and I was taking a bus in, and then sometimes the train, once the Midtown Direct started, and I remember it's not so glamorous, you're on this, the train especially, is well lit, and people are just, your buses sound nice.
Yeah, so they're completely dark. They leave at 5:45, 6:15, and 6:45 from Madison Chatham, which was our original route. And we have guaranteed seats, so we have 55 seats. We sell 55 tickets. Boom. You display it in the app, and so it is this really scalable thing where, like, we used to run only 2 buses, and there was an ice storm that took down a bunch of the wires, and it stopped train travel for 72 hours. And we went from 2 buses to 9 buses a day. Overnight, and so there's this opportunity to like really scale. Exactly. So like with our partners now, we could go from 5 buses a day to 25 buses a day.
Wow.
And I mean, with some partners that we have waiting in the wings, we could probably go to 200 a day. And there's no infrastructure, and so this is a bit of a mission for me because like I think that transportation, for whatever reasons, you want to ascribe it all the way back to like Robert Moses or. Right. Moses, like whatever it is, like transportation is screwed in this area.
Yeah.
Whether it's Superstorm Sandy or Robert Moses or the stuff that's inherent with our area.
Well, it's a nightmare when everything's running well. It's still just so many people.
Yeah.
So anything will throw it off.
So like the Navy taught me like the corrosive nature of salt water. these tunnels got flooded by salt water, the Hudson River tunnels that connect New York and New Jersey.
Yeah.
At some point, they're going to fail, and it's going to happen before we build new tunnels. So when that happens, we're going to go from a capacity of 24 trains an hour down to 6 trains an hour.
Able to come into the city.
Wow. So what's going to happen? People are going to hop in their cars.
Yeah.
Freeways are going to get jammed.
Yeah.
We're going to need somebody who's able to adapt very quickly. And right now, there's no contingency plan.
Wow. So enter.
We think we can help. We think it's going to be a Dunkirk style operation, and we're going to be able to help as much as the next.
And you, so Boxcar is also, I noticed on the website now, doing office space, which reminds me of what's the big one here? WeWork or something.
So there's WeWork, Breather, Liquid Space. There's a couple of these. And, so like one thing that we noticed was that our customers on average commute 3.5 days a week.
3.5 days a week. Okay.
Yeah. So our average commuter is with us 3.5 days a week.
Gotcha.
And, we asked them, what do you do in the other days? They say, oh, we work from home.
Okay.
Do you like that? Kind of not. And so there are these models in the city where you can reserve an extra office space. We could rent out this studio right now for $65 for the day, and somebody could come in here, use the Wi-Fi, and it's a marketplace.
Right.
But nobody who's doing that is looking at the suburbs. And so this led into office space is a good opportunity to help our current customers on that 1.5 day a week where they're not working in the city, where they can now work in a co-working space or a lawyer's office. If maybe working from home just isn't for them, they want to get out, maybe their kids are bothering them, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so they can reserve it for $20 a day, and we give 75% of that revenue to the office owner.
That's fast.
It's all on the same platform. And it's really opened up this much bigger opportunity, which is there are so many cool things happening in terms of mobility and delivery and concierge services, on-demand things, and they're all happening in the cities. And so it's taking years and years for these things to get out to the suburbs. And so we're saying we're only focused on that suburb. So in the donut that surrounds Manhattan and Chicago, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, and San Francisco. So if we're the only people, if we're really only interested in these towns with 20, 30,000 people in them, what else can we do?
Right.
And so there's a lot of opportunities. Like next week, we're rolling out the ability when you park with us, you'll be able to buy a car wash as well. And by the time you come back from work, your car is going to have been washed.
Right?
That's correct.
You?
At the beginning, yeah. we do things manually, and then if they work, we expand them and we automate them. We find a vendor to do it, but at the beginning, it's just me. Yeah.
Well, and I love about what you're doing. There was an article several years ago now in Forbes or Fortune, one of those that was talking about the future is going to be, using things that already exist. So you don't need hotel rooms anymore, and sure enough, Airbnb. You don't need car rental companies, new ones to open up anymore. You can rent someone's car now that of course exists. And you're doing exactly that. These parking places exist. These office spaces exist, and you're taking advantage of it. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I look forward to watching the success. We do have a viewer question for you today. This is one of our toughest critics.
I've been very nervous about this one. The entire
thing. This guy Hank from New Jersey writes in.
Hey Hank.
Joe, congratulations on your idea. Very exciting to watch your success. How far do you find people are willing to walk from a space, and what do you do if it rains?
This is a good question.
Can you control the weather?
Hank, this was a question that when I started this company, I thought it was going to be 0.5 miles.
0.5 miles. You thought that's how far people would be willing to walk.
That's how long I thought they would be willing to walk.
And walk half a mile. Okay.
We can sell a spot that's 0.25 miles away from the train station for $5 a day.
Okay.
That same train station, if we have a spot that is 0.3 miles away, can't sell it for $1.
Is that right?
It's insane.
How did you even do that?
There is a walk shed where people will walk a quarter of a mile, and at 0.3, 0.35,
that's over.
It's gone. They're
is that right?
Yeah. So it has been one of the most.
Was that trial and error?
Yes. Yeah. We were we got these great spots. Nope. Turns out we can't sell them for a penny.
And then when they reserve it online, they see how far it is, literally the distance.
Yeah.
That is, so it's empirical evidence. We've tried
it all. And then what do we do when it rains? rain is the best for us because we have spots that are close to the train station in towns where there's like ample parking, but it's all far from the train station. So rainy days are our best days financially.
Is that right?
Out, yeah.
Well, here's to rain then.
Yeah, exactly.
Let it rain and let the, we don't want the tunnels to flood, but it sounds like all that's going in the right direction. I cannot thank you for your time enough. I know you're a busy guy. You're going to be up bright and early in the morning.
Of course.
Making sure the commute goes well. What time do you start your day?
5:45. We get that first bus. Yeah.
Have you ever had to drive one of the buses?
No, but you might. I'm going to make you do it next time.
I might be looking for work. Everybody, this is Greetings from Somerville. My guest, Joe Colangelo. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.